Some people think that we're making good progress. Some of us would like to see more progress. So, thank you for that. It is very challenging with last minute amendments to amendments and changes to amendments, and we're doing the best that we can under the circumstances. Right, so the next section is services, and the recommendations that sit under my name are the libraries services holding fee. They just took that off the screen. No, it's okay. It's all right. I've got it in front of me. And concessions for rural residents in relation to libraries holding fee. And now we move to the proposed amendment. The first is has been moved by, I think Melanie, I haven't got the names in front of me. Yeah, Melanie Coker, seconded by Tim Scandrett, and the increase, proposed increase to the communities, Strengthening Communities Fund, not the Communities Fund, Strengthening Communities Fund, Coker and Scandrett as well. So if you'd like to just briefly go through the staff advice on those. And green light, please. Yep, thank you.
So the first one is the council investigate increase to the community services card discount from 25 to 50% in preparation for informing the next annual plan. The staff advice is that we can do this, but we need some funding to actually decide what we have done. And I love doing this as the CFO. We have clarified with Councillor Coker in regards to that she's only relating directly to RSE, in which case that it should only cost $10,000.
So,
do you want to clarify what an RSE is?
Rec and Sport.
So is this just? Oh, do you want to mention the other one? Then I'll just I'll ask a question on that
certainly.
one.
Services Strengthening Communities Funds, that the council increases the council's Strengthening Communities Fund by 2%.
Okay, so go back to the previous slide, and just my question is there, if the next council wanted to address the question of the community services card discounts that are offered, could that be work that is undertaken in time for the annual plan? And if I mean the question that I'm getting to is that if the next council doesn't want to look at the community services card discount, then that would be work undertaken for no reason.
Yes.
If I respond, we'll link that into the notice of motion that we've also got, which is about free swimming lessons or discounted swimming lessons for under 16s that we need to provide. So we'll provide that information by November. So it links into another piece of work that we're doing at the same time, so we can link them together, if that makes sense.
So in answer to your question, yes.
Is there enough time, though, to do the work between
Yes.
when councillors will consider this matter for the going into the next annual plan? Would there be enough time to actually do the work that would be required to support a change to the annual plan after the election? Or would it have to start now?
It will start now until we've got it planned in. It'll start now.
You would actually have to start the work now. You couldn't do it between the election and the annual plan going out for draft consultation.
No, we would start the work now.
No, I'm not asking would you start it. If this passes, then you would. But if this wasn't an issue now, if it was left to the next council, could they commission this work in time for the annual plan?
So if we started in November, would it be ready for February?
Yes, probably.
Yeah,
yes.
if you started in November, could it be ready by February?
There is a notice of motion that work's already going to have to be done on unless you revoke the notice of motion. So there's a notice of motion passed by this council around looking at reducing barriers to access in our recreation and sport facilities, including free swimming. So that's already happening. this work would sit alongside that, so you'd be able to do the trade-offs of it. But if you could delay this work till after the election and add it in on that to that work if needed.
There is sufficient time between November and February
Yep.
to commission this work.
Yes.
That's the question.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Right. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
As Bruce was saying, the money will still be needed on the annual plan budget, because you won't be able to add it in after the annual plan's struck.
I'm confused.
So the 10,000 that we need to commission modelling for it would still be needed to be added to the budget now.
Even if you don't start it till November, to get it into the annual plan budget, we need to approve the 10,000 today.
And really? So that means that nothing can be raised in terms of commissioning of work by the incoming council unless it's already got.
Budget.
No, I mean, yeah, okay.
10,000, what's the rate impact?
No,
0.002.
It's
Slightly less.
It's a negligible sum. Right. Yeah. Okay. So I've moved and seconded mine. Where are they? Sorry. Yes. I've picked up the library's holding fee, but also the concessions for rural residents, which was raised as part of submissions that we heard on the long-term plan, annual plan. Some people have raised concerns about how challenging it is to get into a library and how often they would have to go. Putting an item on hold at $2, at $3 per item actually mounts up, particularly for people who live quite away from the centre of town. And Akaroa was one that was mentioned, and they would have to, they would be booking maybe 10 books at a time, and that soon mounts up when you actually add the cost of getting into town as well. So a concession for them is an important opportunity to enable freeholds for people that have a substantial distance to travel, and the reduction of the library's holding fee makes it more equitable for people to have access to our library service. I won't support. I mean, I know that it sounds like a small amount of money, but I don't think this council should predetermine anything that's coming up for consideration by the incoming council in this regard. It's a significant amount of work, and it might only be a relatively small amount of money, but what will actually happen, because we know the stretch on staff within the organisation, is that this will be, something else will be foregone. Some significant work program that's going on in the and this whole area of work will be put to one side in order to focus on something that may not be a priority for an incoming council. And I won't support the Strengthening Communities Fund increase at this late stage of the annual plan either. So I'll hand it over to Melanie.
Regarding the two amendments, so the community services one I brought forward because we had quite a number of deputations from Green Prescription, the Disabled Persons Assembly and residents about reducing barriers to recreation and sport for those on limited income. I've been informed by staff this won't be staff time, there'll be someone come in to do this work, so it won't actually affect what staff are doing. And then for the second one, for the Strengthening Communities Fund, we all know every dollar you put into our communities when they're doing this sort of work gives us at least $5 worth of value out. So I just see this as a no-brainer.
All right, I'll put the amendment. Sorry, where have I? sorry. So the first amendment is the community services card amendment. I'll put that. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. I'll get people to lift their hands, please. All those in favour, lift your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's carried. The Strengthening Communities Fund. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. That's a show of hands. So all those in favour. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
What's Jake doing?
Jake?
And me. Me, yes. Yep.
Okay, that's lost. The library's holding fee. All those in favour say aye. Yeah. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. No. Hard to tell. All those in favour, put up your hand.
And me.
11.
Yeah, carried. And concessions for that is carried. Yep. Concessions for rural residents. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. James Goff. Just as neighbours in Akaroa, right? Okay, so thank you. That's dealt with, and now we move on to transport. This is a very difficult area. I don't have any recommendations in the transport area, so these are all amendments, and they're all moved by the same councillor with different people seconding them. So, but before I sort of confirm moving and seconding, I'm just going to rule some of them out of order, and so I will do that, and I may need some assistance with them. So, so A13, I'm going to put that one. So we'll come back to that. So A15 Gloucester Street. Sorry, my apologies. I have received legal advice that these amendments do not meet the decision-making requirements of the Local Government Act 2002, and the council would be in breach of its statutory obligation if it was to make the decision sought. Sorry, I should have started by saying there was an original amendment. That was the advice that I received in relation to the original amendment. It was then amended, I think, yesterday and further today, and it is those 3 amendments that are in front of you, and the advice that I have received is that these amendments do not meet the decision-making requirements of the Local Government Act 2002, and the council would be in breach of its statutory obligations if it was to make the decision sought. So that one is ruled out of order. Can we
just get
move to the next
clarification
one?
on that?
There is no debate, no discussion.
Can I get a copy of the advice? Like, why am I being ruled out of order and I haven't even seen the advice?
Excuse me, I will provide you with the advice. I have received legal advice that these amendments do not meet the decision-making requirements of the Local Government Act 2002, and the council would be in breach of its statutory obligations if it was to make the decision sought. That is the advice I have received. Next one.
Rephasing a
Next
project.
one. Next one. I'll come back to the Ferry Road one. Yeah, North Linwood. So North Linwood was the original resolution, had the legal advice attached to it. It was updated as a noting provision, and then amended to specific projects. And again, the advice that I have is that these amendments do not meet the decision-making requirements of the Local Government Act 2002, and the council would be in breach of its statutory obligations if it was to make the decisions sought. I therefore rule it out of order. And the next one is the Bromley Traffic, which was an increase in the budget. The original advice that I received was that these amendments would have to be ruled out of order, the same, and then it was amended, and I'm advised that I have to rule that out on the basis of legal advice that these amendments do not meet the decision-making requirements of Local Government Act 2002, and the council would be in breach of its statutory obligations if it was to make the decisions sought.
Do you think staff could just actually
there is an
advise
agreement
why?
to there is an offer of sorts, if we go down the bottom, to have a noting provision noting that $1 million has been allowed for to complete planning and scheme design. This will then allow for changes to the 24 to 34 long-term plan for construction early in the LTP period. And that we can note that in terms of the Bromley roading and traffic issues that have been raised, but that can be included in the noting, but I can't.
Can I get a copy of the advice? I find it really odd that
I'm just reading it from the advice. I have received legal advice. That's it.
Can someone in the staff not actually explain what the
I
issue
don't know
is
if
with
you
the
can
amendment?
question the chair that way.
You can't question the chair. I'm ruling it out of order. I have done so based on advice. Look,
It's not fair that you get advice and we don't all get it.
the advice is that these amendments do not meet the decision-making requirements of the Local Government Act 2002, and the council would be in breach
But
of
why-
its
can
statutory
you just
obligation
at least explain
if
why
it was
not?
to make the
Excuse
decisions
me?
sought.
Enough.
And the next one is Ferry Road.
Out of order as well, right? So
The trouble with Ferry Road is that I have worked really hard with staff, and it is so difficult to deal with these amendments so late in the piece. And I have worked really hard to help myself understand whether there is anything that we can, really put in front of the meeting today to pick up on long-standing concerns of the community about pedestrian safety on Ferry Road at the Phillipstown, Charleston area, and that staff are developing a solution to address this. So I kind of want us to note that, and I also want us to note that work is being undertaken with the current works that are planned, and if there is a significant change required, this will need to inform the 24-34 long-term plan. But I almost don't even want to note that. What I want to note is that if there is anything that can bring forward the community engagement that will be required in order to get the pedestrian safety improvements that we need in that area, there has to be no parking areas. There has to be changes to the layout of the road. And you have to talk to the community about it. There are businesses down there, there are community groups down there, and it just has to be engaged. So, we're about to go into an election period. Can staff quietly get on with that conversation in the background? I really want to make sure that the work that I know that staff have reassured me is on track to deliver. I really want that to happen, but I don't want it to just be ruled out because the technical amendments that are put in front of us at the last minute are not capable of us making a decision.
at the last minute, from the start of this process since
Yanni,
the submitters.
I'm not going to have a debate with you during the course
Sorry,
of this
can I just
meeting.
clarify? Are you saying that the Ferry Road one, bringing forward the funding, that's ruled out as order. A12 is ruled out of order as well.
What I said was that the bringing forward of the project to the next financial year is not in order,
Unbelievable.
and so you amended it.
No, sorry, excuse me,
You can't do
Mayor.
it, basically. Is that what you're saying?
The original, before it was amended, was capable of debate. However, there's staff advice around the doability and the deliverability of that. The amendments do have legal advice attached, and because of the clarity and the level of detail, which is different. So this may be a point where it would be appropriate to hear from Lynette Ellis in terms of the deliverability, if that would be helpful.
Also,
Talking about 2 safety crossings across a road. And we can't do it within 12
it
months.
is not just about that. You know,
I think it would be useful.
we
Mayor,
have
if you
listened to the community. We want to make a change, and the reality is that all right. Well, look. So that means that we are going to go back to the are we going back to the original because that's capable of being debated?
The original advice on that was, on the face of it, it could be debated. The subsequent amendments are where the issues were. But I'm looking at Lynette on the screen, and I know she has deliverability comments.
Oh, well, I don't know why it got amended then. So, Lynette. Can Lynette hear me?
So, yep, I can hear you. We're there. So, absolutely, we've all heard the concerns of the community. We heard them at the recent council meeting where Alexander Davids spoke to the meeting that had been had. Staff were at that meeting. We are looking at what we can do. The reality is through this annual plan process, you have asked us consistently to provide you with realistic and doable programs, which we've assessed our program on. This came up as part and was an action out of the long-term plan. I understand that. Staff have been working through a number of safety projects across the city, and they worked through the program. Now, they've also regularly updated the community board. This piece of work around pedestrian safety issues is being worked on. Staff are getting on with it, but it does take time, and we need resource and design resource to get this going. So we have given you what we believe is a realistic time frame and a realistic program within the constraints that we have and the constraints that are sitting with us with, elections and everything else that's going on. We've tried to be realistic about it. If it can be brought forward and it goes smoother than expected, it will be brought forward.
Okay, I've got.
But it is being done from a pedestrian safety perspective.
I've got Tim with a question.
Lynette, thank you. If this is brought forward, is there another project somewhere in someone else's community that will be put back?
Yep, got one.
If it's brought forward as part of the annual plan, yes. If we can do it faster, it won't. So we're trying to work within our own resourcing requirements, and if that goes better than expected, no.
But
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's kind of an if though, isn't it? Because there's another community in the hierarchy of safety that was ahead of this that may be put back.
If it is changed as part of the annual plan. So that's why I'm saying the work is going on and will continue.
So simply another community may be put back and be chumped in the queue. Thank you.
Aaron.
Yeah, so looking under the noting provisions there, Lynette, this is your local councillor calling. The sorry, it's 2022. I thought I'd mention that. The it wouldn't be in there till the 24-34 long-term plan. So how long before this would be actually delivered?
No, this work will be delivered. The pedestrian safety work will be delivered earlier. It's if there is major work that has to happen. So if we have to go, if there is a project developed that needs to go in and change the curbs down there. So that area of the street, I admit, is is not great, and there is covered dish down there, so the parking bays intrude on the footpath space, well, they look like they intrude on the footpath space and the road space because of how the covered dish is worked out. So to get rid of that covered dish channel, we would need a significant project, and that would come through as part of the long-term plan. What we're also trying to ensure we do at the same time as doing this pedestrian work is understand what's likely to happen with the bus priority down there. So the bigger bus priority project and any major street upgrade would come through in a couple of years, but the planning would be done and you would have a well-informed decision for the next long-term plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you said the magic words. Thank you.
Good on you, thanks.
Bus.
Yanni?
So just to be really clear, like the stuff that was emailed through to you wasn't necessarily an amendment. It was just to give the high level context of what, you know, I felt was required. And so the safety work, which was raised as part of the LTP, and I might add also ruled out of order because there were no submissions apparently on it in support or against it, which actually wasn't true. People did make submissions. And we were told in June 2021 that the detailed costs are not known. The cost and scheme design for a minor safety works project have not yet been determined. I've only found out yesterday what the cost attached to this program was and what year the money is in, although it's not actually clear from the email response. I've repeatedly asked that question since the submitters made the submission in the draft annual plan around the timing and the scope of what was being proposed. I only got it yesterday. So I'm not sure, given that we've only just heard that there's the bus priority, but why it would take over 12 months, given how much time has already been spent on it since last year and the year before, because the initial request was in August 2020. We're only talking about just making 2 safer sort of crossings across a really busy stretch of Ferry Road. What's the question? So I'm struggling to understand why it can't be done within the next 12 months.
Springfield Road, we need 2, really urgently.
I think that I think that the answer that's been given has covered off on that there are going to have to be adjustments in the area, including parking restrictions, those sorts of things that have to be consulted on. But you actually do need to have a plan upon which to consult. And so it is.
Well, then does staff think
everyone's acknowledging that it's a very difficult area, difficult area, and there's quite a lot of work that needs to be done in the round, which won't be done as part of this initial project.
But given that we've just found out that the bus priority work is happening, would it not make sense to come up with an overall plan for the area? Because it's got a 4-laning designation as well, and money in the LTP beyond the 10-year period
Just
to
seems to
widen
be
the road.
wasting time, Chair.
Well,
Wasting time.
I've tried to manage this as best that I possibly can, and I know that
Doing very well,
now.
but this is
So
turning to
A12 ruled
custard.
out, right?
No, I didn't want to rule it out of order. I wanted to have noting provisions that actually recognise that there are long-standing concerns of this community about pedestrian safety, and that staff are developing a solution to address this.
I mean, we've just done.
I did actually raise a question as to whether we needed to reference significant change required to inform a plan that is 2 years away from being introduced. So I just wondered if we could have that staff are developing a solution to address this, and note that they're seeking to do so, as urgently as they can within the program. I just wanted to have some reference to it and not leave it be. And if we did that, then at least there would be an opportunity.
There's no guarantee there'd be support around the table.
Yeah,
anyway,
like people might not want to do
in front of
anything.
other people,
Yeah.
other communities.
It's not jumping into them.
Can we just
The staff said.
please?
The staff said
I
it was on a
will
program
adjourn
budget.
the meeting. Honestly, if people can't, I'll adjourn the meeting till Thursday. if people just don't settle down and see if we can find our way forward. So you'd rather not have a noting provision, you'd rather put the original recommendation and we'll vote it up or down.
Sorry.
Yep, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Have you read the staff response? They're actually already working on this project.
That's the point that I'm making.
To say that we can't do it in next year, to me, makes no sense at all. They're already working on it. The new piece of information is the bus priority. And what it sounds like, I think staff are trying to say, is that given that they have to look at the active transport corridor in terms of bus priority, that is going to have an implication for the safety stuff, which would kind of seem logical, right? I mean, if you're putting a bus priority through, you're going to have to think about where people cross and what the impact is on parking and a whole range of things. But like I'm the local council of the area, I have no visibility over the public transport stuff that they're doing. I found out about it at a street corner meeting that had suddenly popped up on budget. So, I just don't want this work delayed, given that these are serious safety concerns that people have raised. I'm talking about minor safety improvements, not massive safety improvements. I'm shocked to see that the budget's 667,000K. All I'm talking about is 2 little safe crossings in the middle of the road.
It's simple, but I mean, if you think that designing and implementing pedestrian safety improvement of that nature is just a question of chopping, one design out of one area and plonking it down in another area, then, I mean, we've heard that is a very complex environment in that area. But anyway, I'm happy that we'll just stick to the original resolution and it will stand or fall. I'm sorry, I misunderstood the advice. I thought that it couldn't proceed. So have we dealt with all of the amendments, or can we now go through the amendments?
No, there's only one left, which is the off-street car parking charges. So if we go back to the slide, this one hasn't changed. So
all on the transport Antigua cycleway one.
You did that this morning.
Eh?
I believe you did that one this morning, Mayor.
This morning?
Yes. You read the advice on that one.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
So this is the last one. So that council, the proposed amendment is that council reduce its car parking fees and charges for off-street car parking to $2 per hour for the 22-23 year to improve the occupancy of its buildings. Staff advice is that this proposed change won't get the anticipated impact, the desired effect. And if we do it, it will be 0.17% increase. I can go through all of the advice there if you want me to, which was
I think
no.
Just
so ask any questions and we can answer them.
Yep. And can you put up the staff advice on the recommendation that Yanni's proceeding with now, or is that are people generally understanding what the advice was? People
are you meaning the other
okay.
one?
People
understand.
Ferry Road. It's okay. People understand.
Ferry Road.
Sarah.
It's the same.
So I've got a question on the car parking charges and how the proposal aligns with our other policies and things that we've got, such as the parking policy and climate change strategy.
Yep. Who's going to speak to that?
Lynette, do you want to give it a go?
Give it a go. It doesn't really, to be honest.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really. It's particularly the climate change policy. But also, look, we've really the advice that you've been given back on many in multiple fronts, both from finance and from us. This was largely built up as a joint response. Is that it is COVID implications had more of an impact on occupancy than anything else, and so and we've shown you that in the advice. So what we're saying is that this this will have a bigger revenue hit because we've already taken a pretty big hit with COVID and parking, and won't necessarily result in increased numbers.
All right. So James and then Yanni.
I just wanted to send it to you. Do you mind if I won't vote on this? I'll see you back on the site.
Which one? The car park charges. Oh yes, absolutely. Yanni, did you have a question?
Yeah, thanks. Do you know, in regards to our resident survey, how much concern was expressed around car parking charges? And if it was a reason why people were dissatisfied with council?
Car parking charges weren't discussed. It was about safety in car parking facilities and ease of use, not the charges.
Sheet with the resident survey, I've got number 9 was parking expensive, being 37 comments as to why people were being dissatisfied.
37 out of how many thousand? I'm sorry, I can't hear.
If you put your microphone back on, the
30,
question's
37.
been asked.
So it was 7% of the comments raised it as a concern.
So, so that's were there any other questions? Okay, so we're going to have to deal with these. We'll deal with them. We'll deal with them as one debate, but they're moved separately. So, so I'll open up the debate to whoever wants to start the debate. Well, I'm happy to start the debate if you want. I'm not supporting the amendments that we have in front of us. You know, we've taken a position through the annual plan to make this a light touch annual plan, and so I'm not supporting amendments. I'm disappointed that Councillor Johansson wouldn't take a noting provision, but I'm just going to take personal comfort from the fact that the staff are committed to bringing forward the pedestrian safety improvements in the area, Phillipstown, Charleston, on Ferry Road, as they can deliver that, and they're going to look at the timetable for that, recognising that there's an election period in there, but you know, I'm thinking that I would have thought that with the support of a resolution that could have been, you know, sort of set to one side so that the staff could continue that conversation, get the planning underway and get it ready for implementation. So I'm taking comfort from the fact that we don't need a noting provision to take on board the reassurance that we've received, but it would have been nice to have something on the plan, on the record, for consideration in the future when it does come back. I'm confident that the changes that can be made will be made as soon as they possibly can. There anyone else? Yanni?
I do find it extraordinary that we are told that we cannot achieve a minor safety improvement in a local area within 12 months. Work has already started on that has been outstanding for a number of years, had a request in August 2020, and yet in the very same draft annual plan, we're bringing forward $3.4 million to spend on Gloucester Street, which doesn't actually need to be upgraded, to enhance it, and we think that we can spend $3.4 million within 12 months, but we can't spend several $100,000 in a local community to improve the safety, which is a very dangerous area of Ferry Road for people to cross. Like, how does that make sense? I'm really disappointed that you've taken the opportunity to roll so many amendments out of order that actually responded to what we heard in our draft annual plan. The irony is that you added over $5 million by staff to Condell Ave as a road renewal on the basis that it was programmed before the earthquake to be renewed, and yet through public process where people have taken the democratic opportunity to give their feedback, we were told through the staff analysis, residents in the east are feeling increasingly frustrated by our spending on things perceived as nice to haves when they feel they have continuously having to fight to get investment in some of the basics. Submissions from the submitters in the east came with a sense of frustration that we appear to have forgotten about them when they're still waiting to see improvement in the condition and maintenance of infrastructure, particularly transport infrastructure across many suburbs in our city. We've got the top reasons why people are dissatisfied with us. Unhappy with roads is number 2. Disapprove of council spending, number 3. General maintenance needed, number 4. Doesn't listen, number 5. 6. Slow to respond to problems, concerns. 7. Unhappy with services provided. 8. Too many cycle lanes. 9. Parking expensive, lack of parking issues. Like the key reasons that people are dissatisfied with us, and let me hold up the graph again so you can see, we've gone from 79% satisfaction to 29%, to 42%. We've dropped by almost half, and yet we're still ignoring what people are telling us as part of the draft annual plan on transport and rolling out things that would be positive in local communities to get things done that could be done where there's funding available. There's project budgets that we've got that we don't have any visibility of that are currently unallocated that could be brought forward to get synergy with existing programs of work that we have in the North Linwood area that would save us time on design, construction and consultation, and yet they're ruled out of order. It makes no sense to me at all. I urge you to support doing the work in Ferry Road, and I urge you to also support the car parking charges. The reason for reducing them is just for 1 year to increase the ability for people to come to town because we've got low capacity in our existing buildings. It would be good to see it improved.
Sorry, Yanni, you moved both amendments. You really should have 5 minutes. You can take the other 2 minutes.
I just feel like it's just totally ironic that we had a Hallsville Junction Road improvement of $5 million come without any draft annual plan process added to a budget, and yet my amendments that have been worked on and based on staff have been changed to be specific because the concern that staff had is that there wasn't a proper assessment or costs. I put through fully costed and fully assessed amendments on local roading projects in the areas that people had raised concern, and they get ruled out of order, and yet we can add other money through other processes that are not democratic to the budget. To me, it is completely why people are so dissatisfied with how we do things around this organisation, and we need to change it. And I just wanted to finish by reading a letter from someone from Bromley that wrote to me several years ago, and just to sort of highlight the frustration that people have. Anyway, I'll just try and find it. I'm not sure if you can help, but I'd like to share with you what is happening in our area with GoBus. I live in Ruru Road, Linwood, a home my husband and I have lived in since 1973. It has always been a quiet area. 2 to 3 years ago, GoBus started to use the site on the corner of Maces Road and Ruru Road as a depot. Since then, it has been a nightmare. We have in this area particularly poor bus service, but we have buses up and down our part of Ruru Road going at breakneck speed all day long, as where they are going when their route starts and returning to the depot at the end of the day. They start at 5 a.m. in the morning and finish between midnight and 1 a.m. The road where we are has not had post-earthquake repairs done yet, other than a little patch here and a little patch there. This makes for a very bumpy road service, so not only are the buses speedy and noisy, they bounce down the street and the house shakes. We've had visitors run out of the house because they thought it was an earthquake. That was in 2019. We are still waiting to get these roads done, fixed post-earthquake. People are sick of it.
Sarah.
Thank you. And I've got this one here. This is, can you make it a bit smaller? There we go. Today is International Show Your Stripes Day, a day designed to bring awareness of climate change and global temperatures. This is the New Zealand stripes, and you can see really clearly on there. And Sam, the next one. But it's easier to see in this one, which is based on average temperatures as well. So I'm just going to talk to the car parking charges. And this is the New Zealand temperature change over time. This council has declared a climate emergency. We have set net neutral targets for the city. We have a car parking policy and a transport plan under development. We have a climate resilience strategy. We need to do everything we can to help reduce emissions. One of the things we shouldn't be doing is incentivising more people to drive into town. If we want to spend money getting more people into town, there are other ways to do it, but one of those ways should not be increasing the use of fossil fuel vehicles coming into our central city. Yes, we are a small player in the scheme of things, but everyone just said, oh, this bit doesn't count, this bit doesn't count. Then we give up and nothing happens. We know that there are currently massive heat waves around the globe. The Northern Hemisphere is seeing massive heat wave in Europe at the moment, especially in sort of Spain and France. India is approaching wet bulb moments. The US has told 100 million people to stay indoors because of the temperatures that they are seeing now. This is not normal. This is an emergency. And anyone who passionately believes in climate change, or even just believes the science without the passion, will know that what we shouldn't be doing is increasing the use of fossil fuel vehicles in our city. Thank you very much.
Aaron?
Yeah, I'll try and speak to both bits. Firstly, Yanni's list of unpopular items the council roll out every year. Number 6, the council doesn't listen. That'll be pretty true today too, Yanni, I think. The table won't listen to you, but I think you made a pretty passionate plea, and you offered to give up one road somewhere to fund other projects, and I think that's admirable that you did do that work. Yes, the bus lanes are the reason why you won't get your safety improvements on Ferry Road, and I used to use that road a lot myself because I grew up in Woolston. So I do know that area you're talking about really well. The irony of the bus lanes is no one's ever asked for them, but I've been elected 15 years now. I've never had one person ever ask me for a bus lane. They've never said, oh, I'm going to get on the bus now, you put in a bus lane. It doesn't happen. And we've signed off 22 kilometres of them, and now they're holding up a safety project. So I would have supported that if we had the option to move it forward. We've opted to double the number of buses on our streets, but not double the number of people getting on them. So even our own numbers, when Richard was here, was that would get a 40% increase. So that has a carbon footprint increase. So we can scream that climate change is an emergency all we want, but the decisions we're making at this table don't back that up, because we're not balancing. We've got the passion, but we're not balancing it with the numbers to get the results. And the results are based on how people live their lives, and we should be facilitating the way people live their lives to lower our carbon emissions as much as possible. And everyone's about to roll their eyes because at the LTP, the last one, Greg Clydesdale come in and clearly showed you how we've increased oil usage in Christchurch, increased our carbon footprint. See Mike laughing because it's pretty funny. But he did a clear example for Mike and Sarah to see how we've increased our carbon footprint, and they just won't listen because they've already predetermined how people will change their lives. But here's a wee heads up for you. Even with the global pandemic, the world's population still increases by 83 million people a year. New Zealand's 5 million. We need to do something about the world's population as well as reducing, because every single person born will have a carbon footprint. And it's a conversation we're not even happening. And as a responsible global citizen, New Zealand should be part of that, because there is no way forward while the numbers keep going up.
Is there anyone else that would like to contribute to the debate? Tim.
On a local area, I can understand the passion with regards to safety, but every community has roads that we're concerned about. And if you put one thing in front of another, they all have to shift. And I think that every councillor around this table has communities who are concerned with the safety of their children, etc., getting to school. I know, Melanie and I, we could rattle off 5, Poon Hay Road, Barrington Street, Henderson's, Cashmere. There's a whole, we could just go on Tennyson Street. So I couldn't support on whether you've sent through amendments or not to shift one safety program in front of another one. It just would be wrong. I mean, we all battle for it. We all try and push ours in the front, but it is actually wrong. So I think for further discussion maybe, but not at the moment.
Thank you. All right. Well, I'll put Mike.
Just quickly, because Aaron obviously decided to mention inspired me with once again 3 minutes of misinformation and alternative facts. But and I think when you listen to people at the end of the table when they start talking about fuel consumptions across the whole of Canterbury, you then can't relay that to cycling numbers and uptake in Christchurch. It doesn't quite work like that. And when we look at the bus numbers and what we're planning to do, they haven't doubled, and actually they're going to become electric, so therefore the actual carbon impact will be very, very good. And we also have seen recently with the fare decreases that ECAN's done, and the government as well, actually a quick upsurge in patronage, and we know a lot needs to be done in that space. In terms of the car parking, every time there's an opportunity, certain councillors try to raise this, even though we know the evidence. We know actually if you want to invest money into the CBD, it's not through lowering car parking prices. There's thousands and thousands of car parks within the central city, 20% managed by council. Most of our car parks are free, and there's price points for any type of budget if you actually want to come into the city and parking's not a problem. And the more we say it is, the more actually we turn people off from coming into the city, which is not the right thing to do. I won't be supporting any of the amendments. Look, it's a shame that councillors come in with dozens of amendments, trying to get every single thing that they can, and actually then they're just trying to put their community in front of other communities. We go through a process, we work, and we're trying to prioritise what needs to be done now and what can wait a little bit longer. And for councillors to come in and start basically thumping the desk that we don't care is not right, but we have to actually do this in a measured approach to ensure that actually we get the right outcomes across the whole of the city and not just focus on one ward because the council decides to put in, a dozen amendments in the annual plan. If we all did that, we'd be here for a week, and it'd just become a very messy meeting. In regards, if the councillor wants to mention Condell Ave, look, Condell Ave was a council decision before the earthquakes to have that road renewed. These people have been waiting 12 years. They have made submissions. It is unfair for that community to try and bring them up as a reason for you to get work done in your area when they've been waiting patiently while the rest of the city is actually having work done. It's a disappointing approach that you take to try and attack other communities to lift your own community.
Thanks very much. All right. Melanie.
I'm just going to say I do support the Ferry Road amendment, because when a community is galvanised in the way that they've come to see us, I think we should be doing our best to make an amendment that reflects the position that they've put towards us. If we have other communities that are galvanised about various things, polls, all sorts, we do our attempt to listen, and it's time we need to, I think, do the same. And I think moving it forward is the right thing to do.
Phil?
Yeah, thanks. I was the one that seconded the one on Gloucester Street. Just to straighten out my confused brain, if we came up with an idea to say $3.4 million and use that somewhere else, and we can't use this forum or annual plan to do it, and try and stop a road that, here we are with the climate change emergency, and we're digging up a road which has still got a number of years of useful life in it, what system do we use if we don't use this?
Carry on.
Yeah, no, sorry, I was getting advice from my friend. So I just want to know, someone can tell me, please, just going forward one day, how I can change it going into the next year, because the system we've got is not good. We can put stuff on at a drop of a hat, but we can't stake stuff out because it's already set in concrete. So we've got to change the way we look at it, save money.
Jimmy?
Regarding to the Old Street car parking, I'd like to mention, because this kind of mentions the issue, because the after COVID, in the CBD, quite a few years, have kind of the economy is kind of a downturn, etc. But I'm still concerned Sarah should remind us, particularly this kind of global warming, is in worldwide, in New Zealand, also in Christchurch as well. The temperature year by year is increasing. Also, I remember that if we try to reduce those kind of parking fee, whether it's the kind of indirect, to encourage those drivers, maybe trying to kind of more car to the CBD, whether let's create another kind of carbon emission, etc. Then I remember even today, I still give me the bigger image. The same day, mosque attack, the same day, all those teenagers in the square, they kind of the demo, they would like to, we kind of declare this the city is a climate and ecological emergency city. So after a couple of months in May 2019, we announced this city. In that time, one of 400 climate kind of ecological emergency city. And also last year, we have established our climate resilient strategy last year, and we set up a goal. Council and all the council-owned facility accessory. Our target is 2030. This kind of carbon neutrality, whole city will be by 2045. But we have this kind of commitment. If we are not step by step to implement, how come can make that happen? So today, for me, I'm not support this reduced $2 per hour. I just want to express my view regarding to this one. Yes.
I'm going to get Yanni to close off the debate. Oh, no, sorry. No, that's right. There's no right of reply. My apologies. Okay. Thank you. Right. So the First Amendment. So staff can go now. I believe. Okay. Yeah. No. I just thought that you'd be able to hear them on the way. They're going to require an hour. So we're going to adjourn the meeting once we've done the noting provisions, but they don't need to stay for that. Okay, so the Ferry Road amendment, I'll back to the original. I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's lost. So do you want to put up your hands for in favour? So that's Chen, Johansson, Coker, Major, and Kewen.
And me.
And McClellan, of course. Sorry. And the second one is the car park, off-street car park building amendment. And that's been moved and seconded, so I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. Aye. It's lost.
No.
So I'll that's Aaron and Yanni, and James Goff has stepped back from the table for the vote. All right. Can you turn your speaker on when you speak? Sorry.
The team's going to go now. We will be back at 4:00 with the numbers. It's just I've got to run all the models to get the actual differentials.
No, we understand that. So, but we're going to carry on doing the noting provisions. So, we'll let you go, and then I'll adjourn the meeting until 4 after we've done the noting provisions. So, I've moved all the noting provisions. There's a second. Andrew Turner has seconded them. Can we just eyes down and listen for a minute? We've made an amendment to one of them just to satisfy the question that was being asked. So is there any discussion? Yanni?
Yeah. I don't know if staff can put the photo up of the Apawaho Heathcote River that I sent through.
We have put them all in one go, but
Can you just
Yanni's
put the photo
allowed
of the
to
river?
speak.
So Councillor Johansson asked for this additional wording.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. So it's just changed slightly.
9. The bit that's in the line.
Yeah, but he wants a picture up.
Yeah, I sent you the pic. Did you get the picture of the river? Just to put the river up quickly.
She sent you a photo of a dog or something. It should be an activity management plan as well.
Cool.
I'll tell you about it in a minute.
I don't know if you can make it bigger or dim the lights, but
We can see it.
okay.
Being sorted, and it's going to have. We're going to have.
Look, I'll just be really quick and speak to it. I just wanted to speak to the importance of the Apawaho Heathcote River corridor and appreciate that there will need to be work done around any sort of future activity management plan. I would have loved to have seen one done this year, but I appreciate that that does require some work. But I think what came through the submissions really clearly was just people's desire that we don't lose focus on the importance of this waterway. It is one of the worst urban waterways that's in terms of pollution. And this was just a photo that a local resident brought to our community board over 2 years ago and 2 years of frustration trying to get the river corridor just tidied up and maintained to some sort of decent standard. And what you can see is, just the real need to coordinate the flooding works, the drainage works, the landscaping works, the cycleway works, and all the other things that we do along the river. So I just wanted to put that picture up as kind of a lost opportunity, really, to value and treasure what is a really special space, which is the Apawaho Heathcote River. And again, you heard a number of submissions through that talked about the importance of it. So just the other noting things that I just wanted to recognise was the Future Streets Aranui. Again, a community process to come up with a report which had a lot of really good steps in terms of public transport, cycling, and amenity improvements that haven't been progressed. They were supposed to be into the 2018 LTP. That hasn't happened, but I think given that we've got an upcoming election and a new community board, it'd be really good for staff to report to that board around how those next steps could be done. That would make a positive difference in that community over what was a pretty good process to work out what the community needs were, and just to acknowledge staff for the work that they're doing in Cutler Reserve. I understand there is work happening there, and they will endeavour to give me, as local council, greater visibility of it, but I certainly appreciate that they have got on and done it. And finally, just Radley Street. I know that we've got budgets to do slow speed neighbourhoods throughout the city. I think we can do 5 a year. And so it would be really good at some stage to just get an understanding of the process around how that's prioritised, because I'd hate for some communities to feel missed out and others to feel that communities were being put ahead of them, and particularly through an annual plan process where people may like to make submissions. It might be quite good to just be really clear about how we are prioritising that budget and then give communities an opportunity to have their say. But I just wanted to acknowledge the Mayor too for the work that she's done around these noting provisions, and also just I think number 8 has been slightly changed as well, just to look at the community board funding, which was basically an idea to give community boards a certain level of money to enable them to get on and get stuff done in a responsive manner to their local community's requests. And I understand the staff advice has been that they can look at that as part of their current work program in 22-23, and I look forward to that work coming back, because I see that as the Strengthening Communities Implementation Plan as a really positive way forward to actually get greater responsiveness to local concerns that are raised in a more timely manner if we can give local delegations to the boards, enabling them to just get on and address many of the things that we've spent most of today talking about. Thanks.
Thank you. Anne and Melanie, Jimmy.
Thank you. I just wanted to talk about noting number 2, which is the Milne-Sutherland Sparks intersection, and because it had about approximately 100 submissions on this issue from a very concerned community. It's a growing population out that way, and this intersection is getting busier, and its layout is necessitating risky behaviour because it's really difficult to cross and to get round there. So it's important that people understand that the work that needs to be done here can't happen until all the developers, and I think there are at least 3 of them that border that intersection, have their plans into council and consented. So in the meantime, it's really great that this work will be done to investigate temporary traffic safety measures around that area so that it becomes safer. So I wanted to just thank staff for that work and look forward to seeing those safety measures in place as soon as possible. Thanks.
I've got Melanie and Jimmy.
Just a couple of points. One about the Port Hills Management Plan. I'm pleased that this is going to be looked at in the long-term plan. There's a lot of groups working on biodiversity on the hills, and really keen to see a managed approach to that between all the different sorts of land types up there. And then with the human resource capacity we've got, there's a lot of groups are looking for more assistance, basically, to help volunteers to increase our flora and fauna up there and decrease our pests and predators. And so they're looking for as much assistance from council as they can get. So I think increasing human resource through council there to support those volunteers is a very important thing for us to be doing.
Jimmy?
Yeah. As a local councillor, Council of Hornby, so also in response to the community member and the community, raised the quite a few issues, but these two, in the notes 1, the flood in the Golden F. I'm happy, even a couple of days ago, the community board manager sent the email to all the community board members regarding to this updated status. But I do hope from now on, if a council, no matter annual plan decision or long-term plan decision, we have this decision, do hope we can, the office and the council, we should working together, to update it to the community board, because these are many times and over the last 3 years, raised this issue through the council, all the CSR, those system. That's one. Second one is regarding the Hornby and the Linwood tree canopy, because we are all aware, based on our figure, Hornby and the Linwood, we are 2 kind of wall. It's the lowest, the tree canopy, the percentage, So this one, I'm, quite happy the staff, to receive our recommendation. Like to note, if we plant in the future, regarding to those new trees, these 2 wards will be the high priority to replant those trees. So I just want to mention these two kind of issues. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'll just quickly wrap it up because okay, Aaron.
Sorry, just quickly on number 3, the noting on Redcliffe Road. That's really disappointing because the people there that live in Spring Grove have to walk down Redcliffe Road, then right round the block to get to their subdivision. They can't cross the railway line. It's still years off getting the upgrade at Redcliffe Road, so those people will be forced on, which is essentially a country road, to walk right on the edge of the road. So it's on us, their safety, because we could do the footpath up as far as the crossing. They're going to walk down there anyway. So where do we want them walking? On a path off the side of the road or right on the edge of the road? And the council's essentially making a decision to make them walk on the edge of the road. So be it on you.
Anyone else? All right, I'll just wrap this up because we're going to have to deal with the another resolution with regard to the item that's on PX because of the commercial negotiations that are underway with that particular item. So just to say that, look, the noting provisions have been an opportunity for us to consider some of the issues that were raised by submitters, to take those into account and to feed those back to staff. I will congratulate our one public observer for popping up in my lunch break, so-called, in order to remind me that there was an important submission received on the Naval Point boat safety issues that had been raised out there. And although I'm not adding it as a noting provision here, I am noting it that staff continue to work on those issues. And obviously that's an important issue in terms of safety as well. I should say that the Chief Executive and I are meeting with Kiwi Rail next week, and I think that's going to be a helpful meeting in terms of getting a number of projects under the spotlight in terms of our relationship with Kiwi Rail. And there are a number of other amendments as well, just I think really to focus on the need to address the depth and the breadth of issues that the council gets to deal with, and that our submitters have come to us and made representations on. So I do appreciate that these are noting provisions, but they are an opportunity for us to carry them forward as issues. So I will put the resolution. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. Thank you. Now, I'm going to move that the meeting go into public excluded due to commercial negotiations, and the release of the information would compromise negotiations of a tender. So I'll just leave that at that. I'm moving that, seconded by Pauline. I shall put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That is carried.